the maintenance crew arrives every night. You don't see them, you don't feel them working, but the moment you close your eyes and drift, an extraordinary operation begins, deep inside every tissue, every cell, every corridor of your brain and body, rebuilding, clearing, rewiring, restoring. And it has been happening to you every single night of your entire life. Welcome to relaxing, sleepy science. Wherever you are right now, let your body settle. Let your jaw release. Let your shoulders drop. Let your hands rest open and still. If this kind of quiet is what your mind has been looking for, please like this video and subscribe so other tired minds can find their way here too. And now, fact 1: sleep is not rest. Sleep is repair. The distinction matters enormously. When you sit quietly in a chair, your body rests, your muscles relax, your heart rate slows. But when you sleep, something categorically different begins. Every major system in your body shifts from operating mode into maintenance mode. Cells divide. Proteins are synthesized. Immune signals are sent and answered. The brain flushes its own waste. Hormones that cannot be released during wakefulness finally reach their targets. Researcher Matthew Walker at UC Berkeley, whose work on sleep science is among the most cited in the world, has described sleep as single most effective thing a human being can do to reset the health of their brain and body. Not medication, not nutrition, not exercise, sleep. What you are doing right now, lying here, breathing slowly, letting the day go, is one of the most profoundly healing things a human body can do. This is not passive. This is not wasted time. This is the body at its most active. Fact 2: approximately 75% of all growth hormone released in your body is released during sleep. Growth hormone, also called somatotropin, is the primary driver of tissue repair, muscle rebuilding, and cellular regeneration in the human body. In a landmark 2025 study published in the journal Cell, researchers led by Daniel Silverman at UC Berkeley and Stanford University mapped the precise brain circuits that control growth hormone release during sleep. They found that the hypothalamus coordinates to competing hormonal signals, GHRH, which promotes growth hormone release, and somatostatin, which inhibits it, and that sleep creates the specific neural conditions in which this balance tips decisively toward release. Without sleep, this tipping point never comes. The tissue that was worn by the day's demands waits. The muscle fibers damaged by effort remain unrepaired. The bone cells that need to remodel stay in suspension. Right now, as your body settles towards sleep, the hypothalamus is preparing to release what the day withheld. Fact 3: the deepest stage of sleep, slow wave sleep, or stage 3 non-REM, is the body's primary repair window. During slow wave sleep, the brain produces large, synchronized electrical waves, delta waves oscillating between 0.5 and 4 Hz. These slow, sweeping waves coordinate the release of growth hormone from the pituitary gland and suppress the release of cortisol, the stress hormone that, when elevated, actively breaks down tissue rather than rebuilding it. Researcher Eve Van Cotter at the University of Chicago spent decades documenting this hormonal choreography, establishing that the first 2 to 3 hours off a full night's sleep, when slow wave sleep is most concentrated, represent the most hormonally rich repair window in the entire human day. The first hours of sleep are the most powerful. They are already waiting for you, and your body knows how to use them. Fact 4. Your immune system does some of its most important work while you sleep. During sleep, your immune system releases cytokines, small signaling proteins that coordinate immune response to infection, inflammation, and cellular damage. Researcher Trina Banu at the National Institutes of Health has documented how cytokine production follows a circadian pattern, with peak production occurring during the night in alignment with the sleep-wake cycle. Certain cytokines, including interleukin-1 and tumor necrosis factor, are not only immune messengers but also sleep-promoting signals. They make you feel the deep tiredness of illness for a reason. Your immune system is commandeering your sleep to do its most intensive work. The fatigue you feel when you are unwell is not weakness. It is a biological instruction. Your immune system is telling your body, we need the repair window. We need sleep. Give it to us now. Fact 5. Your brain physically clears its own waste while you sleep. In 2013, researcher Maken Nedergaard at the University of Rochester Medical Center made one of the most significant discoveries in modern neuroscience: the glymphatic system. The glymphatic system is a network of channels surrounding the brain's blood vessel through which cerebrospinal fluid flows, flushing metabolic waste products out of the brain tissue and into the bloodstream, where they can be processed and eliminated. During sleep, the brain's interstitial cells shrink by approximately 60%, allowing cerebrospinal fluid to float in times more freely than during wakefulness, 10 times more freely. Among the waste products cleared by this system is beta amyloid, the protein whose accumulation is strongly associated with Alzheimer's disease. Every night of sleep is, in part, a night of Alzheimer's prevention. Your brain is cleaning itself right now, making space, clearing the debris of thought, preparing for tomorrow. Fact 6. Sleep is when your brain consolidates everything you learned today. During sleep, particularly during the slow-wave and REM stages, the hippocampus, which acts as the brain's temporary memory buffer, transfers information to the neocortex for long-term storage. Researcher Robert Stickgold at Harvard Medical School has spent decades documenting this process, demonstrating in multiple studies that subjects who sleep after learning retain significantly more than those who remain awake. In one landmark study, subjects who learned motor skill and then slept showed a 20 to 30% improvement in performance following morning. With no additional practice, the improvement happened entirely during sleep. This is not metaphor. The brain replays, restructures, and consolidates experience during sleep. What you absorbed today, the ideas, the skills, the emotional texture of the hours you lived, is being processed right now, being filed, being kept, being woven into who you are. Fact 7. Your heart and cardiovascular system receive direct restoration during sleep. During non-REM sleep, heart rate and blood pressure drop by approximately 10 to 20%, a state researchers call nocturnal dipping. Researcher Michael Twerry at the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute has described this nocturnal dipping as essential to cardiovascular health. allowing the heart muscle to recover from the continuous demand of waking hours, and allowing the arterial walls to rest from the mechanical stress of daytime blood pressure. People who do not experience adequate nocturnal dipping due to poor sleep quality or sleep disorders show significantly higher rates of cardiovascular disease, hypertension, and stroke. Right now, your heart rate is slowing, your blood pressure is easing downward. The most hard-working muscle in your body is getting the recovery it was designed to need. This is not a small thing. This is your heart being taken care of. Fact 8. Skin cells regenerate twice as fast during sleep. Researcher Kenneth Muller at the University of Miami contributed to research establishing that-epidermal cell division. The process by which skin renews itself follows a strong circadian pattern, with peak mitotic activity occurring between midnight and 4 a.m. The skin's repair mechanisms, including the production of collagen, the clearance of UV-damaged cells, and the restoration of the skin barrier, are substantially more active during sleep than during waking hours. This is why chronic sleep deprivation visibly ages the face. It is not coincidence. The cellular machinery of skin renewals scheduled to run at night, when sleep is shortened, that machinery runs incomplete. The repair accumulates debt. Right now, your skin, the body's largest organ, is beginning its nightly renewal, cell by cell, layer by layer, quickly and without fanfare, rebuilding the boundary between you and the world. Fact 9. The brain prunes and strengthens its connections during sleep. Every day of waking experience creates new synaptic connections, neural links between brain cells formed by learning, attention, emotion, and sensation. By the end of a day, the brain has accumulated an enormous number of new connections, many of them redundant or weakly formed. During sleep, the brain performs synaptic homeostasis, a process first proposed by researchers Giulio Tononi and Chiara Cirelli at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Their synaptic homeostasis hypothesis proposed that sleep systematically weakens and eliminates unnecessary connections while strengthening the most important ones. The result is a brain that wakes sharper, not just rested, but reorganized, more efficient, more clearly structured, ready to learn again. Your brain is not simply pausing tonight. It is editing, refining, keeping what matters, releasing what doesn't. Fact 10. Sleep deprivation has an immediate and measurable effect on the body's ability to heal wounds. Research by Esther Arts and colleagues, published in the journal Sleep, found that even a single night of poor sleep reduced the body's wound healing efficiency by a measurable degree through reduction in growth hormone release, suppression of immune cell activity, and elevation of cortisol. Researcher Sheldon Cohen at Carnegie Mellon University conducted a now landmark study in which participants were deliberately exposed to a cold virus and monitored for who developed illness. Those sleeping fewer than 7 hours per night were 3 times more likely to develop a cold than those sleeping 8 hours or more. 3 times more likely. This is not sensitivity. This is not fragility. This is the immune system operating with precision, requiring a specific biological condition to perform its most critical functions. That condition is sleep, and that condition is being met right now by the simple act of lying here. Fact 11. Your body temperature drops by 1 to 2 degrees Celsius in the first hours of sleep. And this drop is not a side effect of sleep. It is a prerequisite for it. Circadian biologist Mary Carskadon at Brown University has documented how the brain's master clock, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, chordatus, core body temperature reduction is part of the cascade of sleep initiation. The drop in core temperature is coordinated by the hypothalamus, which dilates peripheral blood vessels, particularly in the hands and feet, to radiate heat away from the body's core, achieving the lower temperature at which sleep most efficiently occurs. This is why a warm bath before sleep paradoxically improves sleep onset. The subsequent cooling after emerging from the bath mimics and accelerates this natural temperature drop. Your body right now is orchestrating its own internal temperature management, sending warmth to the surface, cooling the core, creating exactly the thermal conditions in which the deepest repair can begin. Fact 12. The liver performs critical detoxification work during sleep. The liver, responsible for filtering toxins from the blood, metabolizing hormones, and regulating blood sugar, follows a strong circadian rhythm in its activity. Research by Sachidananda Panda at the Salk Institute for Biological Studies established fat liver gene expression follows a 24-hour cycle, with peak detoxification enzyme activity occurring during the sleep hours. Panda's research on time-restricted eating and circadian biology has demonstrated that disrupting the sleep-wake cycle through irregular sleep schedules or night shift work significantly impairs liver function, increasing metabolic disease risk. Your liver is processing the residue of the day, the metabolic byproducts, the dietary compounds, the hormonal debris right now as you rest quietly, efficiently, in the particular biochemical window that only the sleeping body provides. Fact 13. Bone rebuilds itself during sleep. Bone is not static tissue. It is constantly being broken down and rebuilt in a process called bone remodeling, a cycle of resorption by osteoclast cells and formation by osteoblast cells. Research by Stephen Weinstein at the University of Rochester established that this remodeling cycle follows a strong circadian rhythm with osteoblast activity, the bone-building phase, peaking during sleep hours, driven in part by the growth hormone released during slow-wave sleep. Athlete recovery research has consistently shown that sleep is not optional for bone health. Stress fractures and bone density loss are more common in athletes with chronic sleep restriction. Right now, in the quiet of your body, your bones are being maintained. The calcium is being deposited. The microscopic stress of the day's movement is being repaired at the structural level. You are, quite literally, being rebuilt tonight. Fact 14. Your gut heals during sleep. The intestinal epithelium, the lining of the gut, is one of the most rapidly renewing tissues in the human body, turning over completely every 3 to 5 days. Research on cellular regeneration, published in studies reviewed at UC San Diego, found that total sleep deprivation could multiply the number of dying intestinal cells by 3 times, and significantly disrupt the gut's protective barrier. During sleep, gut motility slows, inflammatory activity in the intestinal lining decreases, and the cells of the gut barrier undergo repair and regeneration. Researcher John Cryan at University College Cork, whose work on the gut-brain axis is foundational to modern gastroenterology and psychiatry, has shown that the health of the gut lining directly influences brain chemistry, with gut-derived serotonin and other neurotransmitters playing critical roles in mood regulation. To sleep is to heal the gut. To heal the gut is, in part, to heal the mind. The two are more deeply connected than science understood even a decade ago. Fact 15. Memories are not simply stored during sleep. They are emotionally processed. Researcher Matthew Walker at UC Berkeley demonstrated that REM sleep specifically serves to strip the emotional charge from difficult memories, a process he calls overnight therapy. During REM sleep, the memory is replayed in the hippocampus, but the neurochemical environment is fundamentally different from wakefulness. Specifically, norepinephrine, the brain's primary stress chemical, is almost completely absent during REM sleep. This means the memory is replayed without the full biochemical signature of its distress. Each time it is replayed, it becomes a little less charged, a little more narrative, a little more something that happened rather than something happening still. This is not weakness. This is not forgetting. This is the brain's most sophisticated emotional regulation system working right now on whatever today held. Fact 16. Your muscles are rebuilt during sleep. Resistance, exercise, and even the ordinary physical demands of moving through a day creates microscopic damage in muscle fibers called micro tears. This damage is necessary for muscle growth, but the growth itself does not happen during the exercise. It happens during sleep. Research from the American Journal of Physiology, including work by researcher Stuart Phillips at McMaster University, has documented that muscle protein synthesis, the process by which micro tears are repaired and new muscle fiber is laid down, peaks during slow-wave sleep. Driven by the growth hormone pulsatile that accompanies deep sleep. Without adequate slow-wave sleep, the repair cycle is incomplete. The muscle remains in a state of damage rather than reaching the growth phase. Every physical effort you made today, every step, every lift, every movement is being repaid tonight. Your muscles are receiving exactly the repair they were promised when you made the effort. Fact 17. The brain's immune cells, called microglia, become more active during sleep. Microglia are the brain's resident immune cells, responsible for clearing cellular debris, pathogens, and damaged synaptic connections from brain tissue. Research by Rhiannon Stowell at the University of Rochester Medical Center, published in 2019, demonstrated that microglia extend their processes more dynamically during sleep than wakefulness, actively patrolling brain tissue, removing damaged material, and remodeling synaptic connections. This microglial activity during sleep was found to be essential to maintaining the health of neural circuits, with sleep deprivation producing measurable impairment in microglial repair function. Your brain has its own maintenance crew, and that crew works the night shift. Right now, as you rest, they are moving through the architecture of your mind, clearing, repairing, maintaining the extraordinary biological structure of your thought. Fact 18. Sleep reduces systemic inflammation. Chronic low-grade inflammation is now recognized as a contributing factor in a wide range of conditions, including depression, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and neurodegenerative disease. Researcher Esther Irwin at UCL Asia conducted extensive research showing that sleep deprivation, even moderate restriction to 6 hours per night over several days, produces a measurable increase in inflammatory markers, including C-reactive protein and interleukin-6. Conversely, adequate sleep, particularly slow-wave sleep, is associated with reduction in these markers, allowing the body to resolve inflammatory processes that would otherwise accumulate into chronic disease. Sleep is the body's anti-inflammatory, not by suppressing inflammation, which is necessary, but by completing it, allowing it to do its work and then resolving rather than persisting. The resolution of today's inflammation is happening right now in the quiet of your body while you rest. Fact 19. Your eyes repair themselves during sleep. The cornea, the transparent outer layer of the eye, is one of the most metabolically active tissues in the body during sleep. Research by Henry Edelhauser at Emory University established that corneal cell division and the repair of UV-induced cellular damage occurs primarily during sleep, when the eye is closed and the corneal surfaces protected from further environmental exposure. The muscles that control eye movement, put under continuous strain by the demands of screen-based modern life, relax during non-REM sleep and undergo repair and maintenance during the paralysis of REM sleep. The eyes that have worked so hard today, reading, scanning, processing, receiving, are resting now. The surface of them is renewing. The muscles are being restored. Let them be closed now. They have earned this dark. Fact 20. The body produces more melatonin during sleep than at any other time. And melatonin is far more than a sleep hormone. Melatonin, produced by the pineal gland, is one of the most potent antioxidants in the human body. Research by Russell Ryder at the University of Texas Health Science Center at San Antonio, who has published more than 1,400 papers in melatonin biology, has established that melatonin directly neutralizes the most damaging free radicals, including the hydroxyl radical, and stimulates antioxidant enzyme production in every cell of the body. This antioxidant activity during sleep reduces DNA damage, protects mitochondria, the cell's energy generators, from oxidative stress, and slows the cellular aging process. Every night of sleep is, in part, a night of cellular anti-aging, not by stopping time. By repairing its passage, by tending with extraordinary chemical precision to the cellular cost of being alive. Let's pause here for a moment. Notice where you are right now. Your body in this moment is not waiting, it is working. Every breath you take is delivering oxygento cells, performing the quiet work of repair. Every second in the dark is a second of glymphatic clearing, of cortisol declining, of immune cells completing their rounds. You are not lying here doing nothing. You are lying here doing everything. The weight of your body in this moment, that particular heaviness that belongs to rest, is not absence, it is presence, the full, complete presence of a body being taken care of by itself. Notice that weight now. Notice your breath. Notice the quiet. Your body knows exactly what to do. And now we continue. Fact 21. The brain produces its greatest bursts of neuroplasticity during sleep. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize its connections in response to experience, is not a waking-only phenomenon. Research by Wenbiao Gan at New York University used 2-photon microscopy to observe the formation of new dendritic spines, the structural basis of new synaptic connections, in living mouse brains during and after sleep. Gan's team found that sleep after learning produced a rapid burst of new synapse formation, confirming that the sleeping brain is physically restructuring itself in response to the day's experiences. The insights you had today, the skills you practiced, the conversations that shifted your thinking, all of it is being written into the structure of your brain right now in new synaptic connections, in the quiet cellular language of growth. You are being changed by today while you sleep, in the most literal, physical, measurable sense. Fact 22. Your kidneys work differently during sleep. The kidneys, responsible for filtering the blood and regulating fluid and electrolyte balance, reduce their filtration rate during sleep under the influence of antidiuretic hormone ADH, which is released in higher concentrations during the night hours. Research from the Department of Nephrology at the University of Maastricht established that this circadian modulation of kidney function serves a critical restorative purpose, allowing the kidney tubules to undergo repair and reducing the metabolic load on kidney cells during the overnight hour. The reduction in kidney workload at night is part of the broader physiological quieting that allows the body to redirect energy from maintenance of waking function toward the deeper work of restoration. Right now, your kidneys are filtering gently, working at their softest pace, being replenished for another day. Fact 23. The part of your brain responsible for threat detection stands down during sleep. The amygdala, the brain's alarm system, constantly scanning for danger during wakefulness, significantly reduces its reactivity during non-REM sleep. Research by Matthew Walker at UC Berkeley demonstrated through fMRI studies that the prefrontal cortex, the brain's rational moderator of emotional response, becomes disconnected from the amygdala during sleep, removing the check that normally regulates emotional reactivity. But far from making this dangerous, this disconnection during sleep is what allows emotional memory processing to occur. The replaying of difficult experiences without the cortex intervening to suppress, allowing them to be metabolized rather than stored. The alarm is off tonight. The scanner has been switched to standby, and in its place, in the quiet where anxiety lived during the waking hours, something else is working, something that does not worry, something that simply tends. Fact 24. Human growth hormone released during sleep activates a gene called FOXM1B, essential to the repair of damaged liver cells. Research at the Howard Hughes Medical Institute, including work by researcher Stephen McKnight, identified FOXM1B as a master regulator of cell proliferation in aging tissue. Growth hormone released during deep sleep is one of the primary stimulants of this gene's activity in aging individuals. The decline of deep sleep is closely correlated with the decline of FOXM1B activation, and with it, the declining efficiency of tissue repair. This means that protecting the quality and depth of sleep is not merely about feeling rested. It is about maintaining the biological machinery of repair that keeps the body functioning with the resilience of youth. Every night of deep sleep is a conversation between your biology and your longevity. Tonight, that conversation is happening exactly as it should. Fact 25. The lymphatic system, the body's waste, clearance, and immune surveillance network, is more active during sleep. Lymph fluid, which carries cellular waste, immune cells, and proteins through the body, moves through lymphatic vessels via muscular contractions and breathing. Research by Jonathan Kipnis at the University of Virginia established that the brain's lymphatic drainage through the recently discovered meningeal lymphatic vessels is significantly enhanced during sleep, directly complementing the glymphatic flushing discovered by Macon Nedergaard. This dual system, cerebrospinal fluid from inside, meningeal lymphatics from outside, forms a comprehensive waste removal network that is predominantly active during the night. Two interlocking systems, both working right now, both clearing the accumulated metabolic cost of a day of thinking, feeling, and navigating the world. Let's pause here and notice. You are still here, still in that soft space between thinking and rest. Take one slow breath now. Your brain is already doing something different than it was when you first lay down. The neural activity is far quieter. The transitions between thoughts are becoming longer, softer, less defined. You are closer to sleep than you were, and we'll keep going together, gently. Fact 26. Lead regulates the hormones that control hunger. Two hormones, ghrelin and leptin, govern appetite in the human body. Ghrelin signals hunger, leptin signals satiety. Researcher Eve Van Cotter at the University of Chicago conducted a landmark study finding that 2 nights of sleep restriction to 4 hours increased ghrelin levels by 28% and decreased leptin levels by 18%, producing a net increase in hunger and, specifically, an increase in appetite for high-calorie, carbohydrate-rich foods. This is why sleep-deprived people tend to overeat. It is not lack of willpower. It is hormonal dysregulation produced by the absence of sleep's regulatory function. This leming is the beta appetite regulator. It maintains the chemical balance that makes healthy eating choices is possible. Every full night of sleep is, in part, a protection of your relationship with your own body. Fact 27. The brain replays spatial memories during sleep to build and strengthen navigational maps. Research by John O'Keefe at University College London, whose discovery of place cells won the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 2014, established that hippocampal place cells, which encode the brain's spatial map of the world, replay their firing patterns during sleep. This replay during slow-wave sleep consolidates the day's navigational experience. Routes traveled, spaces entered, the spatial geometry of the world you moved through, but it also extends beyond physical space. The hippocampus encodes all contextual memory, and its sleep-based replay strengthens not just where you were, but the emotional context of everything you encountered. Right now, the hippocampus is playing the day back, not as a burden, but as an archive selecting what to keep. deciding what was significant, writing the version of today that will live in your memory. Fact 28. Testosterone is produced primarily during sleep in both men and women. In men, approximately 70% of daily testosterone production occurs during sleep, specifically during REM sleep. As documented by researcher Axel Steigerat, the Max Planck Institute of Psychiatry in Munich, in women, testosterone, produced in smaller but physiologically critical amounts, follows a similar circadian pattern with implications for energy, mood, bone density, and immune function. Sleep deprivation measurably reduces testosterone, with research published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, finding that 1 week of sleep restriction to 5 hours per night reduced testosterone levels in young men be 10 to 15%. This is not a trivial effect. The hormonal architecture of the human body is built on the foundation of sleep. Remove the foundation, and the architecture begins to shift. Tonight, that foundation is being laid. Fact 29. The body repairs DNA damage during sleep. Every cell in the human body suffers ongoing DNA damage from metabolic activity, UV exposure, and oxidative stress. Left unrepaired, this damage accumulates, contributing to cellular aging and cancer risk. Research by Lior Appelbaum at Bar Ilan University in Israel, published in Nature Communications, found that during sleep, the neurons in zebrafish brains showed dramatically increased DNA repair activity, with repair proteins congregating at sites of damage at rates far exceeding those seen during wakefulness. Appelbaum concluded that sleep may have evolved in part precisely to provide the cellular quiet necessary for DNA repair, a process too energetically expensive and metabolically disruptive be completed efficiently during waking hours. Your DNA, the instruction manual of your biology, is being maintained tonight by error, strand by strand, in the quiet chemistry of cells that have stopped doing everything else so they can do this one essential thing. Fact 30. Emotional resilience is rebuilt during sleep. Research by Els van der Helm and Matthew Walker at UC Berkeley found that a full night of sleep, particularly REM sleep, produced measurable improvement in the ability to regulate emotional responses the following day. Sleep-deprived subjects showed heightened amygdala activity, responding more intensely to negative stimuli and showing a reduced ability to recover from emotional disruption. Well-slept subjects showed calmer, more measured emotional responses, not because the challenges were smaller, but because the emotional regulation system had been restored by overnight processing. This is not metaphor. This is neurobiology. The emotional steadiness of tomorrow, the capacity to meet difficulty without being overwhelmed by it, is being built right now. In the quiet of tonight's rest, you are not just resting, you are becoming more resilient, one night at a time, 1 hour at a time, one quiet breath at a time. Fact 31. The brain consolidates motor skills without any additional practice during sleep. Research by Matthew Walker at UC Berkeley and colleagues, including Jeffrey Ellenbogen at Harvard Medical School, established that motor sequence learning, the kind of skill involved in playing an instrument, typing, or any repeated physical sequence, improves by 20 to 30% after a night of sleep Without further practice, the improvement is not simply due to rest. It is due to active offline processing. The sleeping brain rehearsing the movement sequence, optimizing the neural pathway, pruning inefficient connections, and strengthening the most effective route through the motor cortex. The skills you practiced today are being refined as you lie here. The movements you attempted, the sequences you worked to master, they are being polished in the workshop of sleep. You will wake more capable than you fell asleep. Fact 32. The parasympathetic nervous system dominates during sleep. The autonomic nervous system has two primary modes: sympathetic, fight or flight, the state of waking vigilance and stress response, and parasympathetic, rest and digest, the state of recovery, repair, and restoration. During non-REM sleep, the parasympathetic system assumes primary control, producing the conditions: lowered heart rate, reduced blood pressure, slowed breathing, relaxed smooth muscle, that allow the body's maintenance systems to operate without interference. Researcher Gary Berntsen at Ohio State University has studied the balance between sympathetic and parasympathetic activity during sleep, finding that the degree of parasympathetic dominance during sleep correlates directly with the quality of immune function, cardiovascular recovery, and mood regulation the following waking period. The deeper your rest tonight, the more completely the parasympathetic system can complete its work. And it is working now. The body's profound intelligence of recovery, ancient, efficient, complete, running quietly beneath every breath. Fact 33. Insulin sensitivity is restored during sleep. Insulin is the hormone that allows cells to absorb glucose from the bloodstream. Insulin resistance, the condition in which cells stop responding adequately to insulin, is a precursor to type 2 diabetes and metabolic syndrome. Research by Peter Liu at UCLA found that slow-wave sleep is directly linked to insulin sensitivity, with each percentage point decrease in slow-wave sleep producing a measurable decrease in insulin sensitivity equivalent to gaining 8 to 13 pounds of body weight. During deep sleep, the body's cells reset their insulin receptor sensitivity, preparing the metabolic system for another day of efficient energy management. The metabolic health of tomorrow is being prepared in the deep sleep of tonight, not through effort, not through discipline, through the simple, extraordinary gift of letting the body do what it was built to do. Fact 34. The brain produces the highest levels of serotonin precursors during sleep. Tryptophan, the amino acid precursor to serotonin and melatonin, crosses the blood-brain barrier most efficiently during sleep, when competition from other large neutral amino acids is reduced due to the absence of dietary protein intake. Research by Richard Wertman at MIT established that the tryptophan to serotonin pathway was most productive during the overnight fast, with serotonin levels in key brain regions peaking in the early morning hours following a night of adequate sleep. Serotonin is the neurotransmitter most closely associated with stable mood, emotional equanimity, and the feeling of being fundamentally all right. Every morning, you have woken feeling calmer and more balanced than the night before is partly a serotonin story. And that story is being written right now in the quiet chemistry of the sleeping brain. Fact 35 protects the myelin sheath that insulate your neurons. Myelin, the fatty sheath surrounding nerve fibers, is essential to the speed and precision of neural signal transmission. It is produced by cells called oligodendrocytes, and its maintenance is critical to neurological function across the lifespan. Research by Chiara Cirelli at the University of Wisconsin-Madison found that oligodendrocyte precursor cell division, the production of new myelin-producing cells, occurs primarily during sleep, with the highest rates of division recorded. During REM sleep, this means that the insulation around your neurons, the biological infrastructure of every thought, every movement, every sensory experience, is being maintained and renewed specifically during the stage of sleep most associated with dreaming. While you dream, your brain is rewiring itself, insulating its circuits, preparing them for the clarity and precision of tomorrow. Fact 36. Adequate sleep dramatically reduces the risk of common cold infection. In Sheldon Cohen's landmark study at Carnegie Mellon University, one of the most controlled and cited studies in sleep and immunity, participants were quarantined, deliberately exposed to rhinovirus, and monitored for symptom development. Those sleeping fewer than 6 hours per night were 2 times more likely to catch the cold than those sleeping 7 or more hours, 4.2 times more likely. The immune system's ability to detect, respond to, and eliminate a viral pathogen is directly dependent on the hormonal and cytokine conditions that adequate sleep produces. Every full night of rest is an immune investment, a protection that no supplement or precaution can fully replicate. Right now, your immune system is doing what it does best, operating in the ideal biochemical conditions that only the sleeping body can provide. Fact 37. Sleep is when your body calibrates its pain sensitivity. The descending pain modulation system, the network of neural pathways that suppress or amplify pain signals from the body, is profoundly affected by sleep. Research by Matthew Walker at UC Berkeley, using fMRI to study pain processing in sleep-deprived versus well-rested subjects, found that sleep deprivation increased pain sensitivity by a measurable degree, activating the somatosensory cortex to a greater extent in response to identical stimuli. Conversely, adequate sleep, particularly slow-wave sleep, calibrates the descending pain modulation system towards suppression, increasing the threshold at which sensations are experienced as painful. Sleep is a natural analgesic. The body, in the quiet of the night, adjusts its own pain dial, turning it down gently in preparation for another day of being alive in a body that feels things. Fact 38. The spinal cord undergoes specific repair processes during sleep. Cerebrospinal fluid, produced in the ventricles of the brain and circulated through the spinal cord, flows at greater volume and with greater clearing efficiency during sleep, as part of the glymphatic system established by Maiken Nedergaard at the University of Rochester. This spinal fluid circulation clears inflammatory mediators, metabolic waste, and cellular debris from the spinal cord tissue, reducing the low-level inflammation that accumulates through a day of postural load, physical movement, and neural activity. If you carry tension in your back or neck, the accumulated postural and mechanical stress of hours of sitting, standing, moving, that tension exists partly as inflammation in the soft tissue around the spinal column, and the cerebrospinal fluid moving through your spinal cord right now is attending to it slowly, quietly, in the way that only sleep makes possible. Fact 39. The brain's default mode network processes the narrative of the self during sleep. The default mode network, identified by Marcus Reichel at Washington University in St. Louis, is the brain's introspective system active during self-referential thought, memory integration, and future projection. During sleep, particularly during REM, the default mode network maintains high activity, integrating the day's experiences into the ongoing narrative of identity. This is the biological basis of the observation that sleep helps us make sense of things. The default mode network is the part of the brain that constructs meaning, that takes the raw events of the day and weaves them into the story of who you are and what your life means. That work is happening right now. The story of today is being written into the larger story of you. What was confusing may become clearer by morning. What was raw may become softer, not because the world changed, because the narrative architecture of your brain has had time to work with what it received. Fact 40. Sleep is when the body performs its most intensive protein synthesis. Proteins, the molecular machines of biological life, are synthesized continuously throughout the day. But the rate of synthesis increases substantially during sleep, driven by growth hormone, release and the absence of the catabolic hormones associated with wakefulness and stress. Research by Stuart Phillips at McMaster University has established that the overnight period, particularly the first 4 to 6 hours of sleep, represents the peak window for whole body protein synthesis, with implications for muscle repair, enzyme production, hormone synthesis, immune protein manufacturing, and tissue renewal. Every protein your body needs to function tomorrow. The enzymes in your gut, the antibodies in your blood, the neurotransmitters in your brain, the structural proteins of your connective tissue. Many of them are being assembled right now in the molecular quiet of sleeping cells. You are being built while you sleep, not metaphorically, molecularly, protein by protein, cell by cell, in the extraordinary factory of the resting body. Fact 41. Sleep strengthens the blood-brain barrier. The blood-brain barrier is a highly selective membrane formed by specialized endothelial cells lining the brain's blood vessels, preventing harmful substances from entering the brain while allowing the passage of nutrients. Research by Banu and colleagues at the National Institute of Neurological Disorders established that sleep deprivation significantly compromises blood-brain barrier integrity, allowing inflammatory proteins to enter brain tissue and triggering neuroinflammatory responses. Adequate sleep maintains and repairs the tight junctions between blood-brain barrier cells, restoring the selectivity of this critical boundary, the wall that protects your brain from the inflammatory residue of the body is being repaired and reinforced tonight, strengthened by the one thing, the only thing that can do this work. RET. Fact 42. The cerebellum consolidates balance and coordination during sleep. The cerebellum, the brain structure responsible for the precise coordination of movement, balance, and timing, undergoes significant synaptic refinement during sleep. Research by Rui Costa at the Champalimaud Foundation in Lisbon found that cerebellar circuits involved in learned movement sequences show sleep-dependent plasticity, with synaptic pruning and strengthening of movement-relevant circuits during the night. This is why learning a physical skill, a golf swing, a dance step, a new way of walking, improves dramatically after a night's sleep, not just from the well-documented motor cortex effects, but from cerebellar consolidation as well. The grace of tomorrow's movement is being refined in tonight's sleep. Fact 43. The adrenal glands rest during sleep. The adrenal glands, sitting atop each kidney, produce cortisol, adrenaline, and a range of hormones essential to the stress response. During waking hours, particularly during stressful or demanding periods, the adrenal glands maintain a state of elevated readiness, producing the hormonal environment of vigilance. Research by endocrinologist Josephine Arentat, the University of Surrey, established that cortisol production reaches its lowest point in the first half of the night, typically between midnight, to reduce output and allowing the adrenal glands to reduce output and begin their own cellular restoration. The glands responsible for your stress response are right now resting. The machinery of alertness is standing down. The hormones of vigilance are at their lowest ebb, and in their place, the quiet chemistry of restoration is running. Let yourself feel the particular relief of that. The alarm system at rest, the watcher finally resting its watch. Fact 44. Sleeping recalibrates the brain's reward system. The nucleus accumbens, the brain's primary reward and motivation center, is significantly affected by sleep quality. Research by Matthew Walker at UC Berkeley using fMRI imaging found that sleep deprivation dramatically amplified the response of the nucleus accumbens to impulsive, immediate rewards, while simultaneously reducing the activity of the prefrontal cortex that moderates long-term decision-making. The sleep deprivation, in other words, makes the brain more impulsive and less measured, not because of character, but because of neurobiology. Adequate sleep restores the balance between the reward system's immediacy and the prefrontal cortex's longer perspective, making considered, values-aligned choices more neurologically accessible. The capacity to be the person you want to be tomorrow's being restored right now in this sleep. Fact 45. Dreaming plays a role in emotional integration that waking therapy cannot fully replicate. Researcher Ernest Hartman at Tufts University, who spent decades studying the function of dreaming, proposed the context creating function of dreams. The idea that dreams systematically connect emotionally significant recent experiences with older, related emotional memories, building the contextual framework through which difficult experiences are understood. This context building cannot be rushed. It cannot be achieved through conscious reflection alone. It requires the particular neurochemical environment of REM sleep, the absence of norepinephrine, the dominance of acetylcholine, the deactivated prefrontal cortex, to allow the associative connections that, constitute genuine emotional understanding. The dreams that come tonight are not random. They are the brain's way of making sense of what the waking mind could not fully integrate. They are doing healing work. Let them. Fact 46. The gut microbiome is regulated during sleep. The trillions of microorganisms inhabiting the human gastrointestinal tract, collectively, the gut microbiome, follow a strong circadian rhythm, with different microbial populations speaking in activity at different times of day. Researcher Rob Knight at UC San Diego, one of the world's leading microbiome researchers, has established that circadian disruption, including sleep disruption, significantly alters gut microbiome composition, reducing microbial diversity and increasing populations associated with inflammation and metabolic disease. Conversely, regular, adequate sleep maintains the healthy circadian oscillation of the microbiome, supporting the microbial populations most associated with immune health, mood regulation, and metabolic balance. Your gut microbiome has its own sleep cycle, and right now it is following yours, settling into the nighttime phase of its own daily rhythm. Fact 47. Neurogenesis. The birth of new brain cells occurs during sleep. For most of the 20th century, it was believed that humans were born with all the neurons they would ever have. Researcher Fred Gage at the Salk Institute was among those who overturned this belief, demonstrating that new neurons are generated throughout life in the hippocampus, the brain's center for memory and learning. Research has established that this neurogenesis significantly enhanced by sleep, with sleep deprivation reducing the rate of new neuron production, and adequate sleep supporting the survival and integration of new neurons into existing hippocampal circuits. New neurons. Tonight, in the sleeping brain, not a metaphor for renewal, actual, measurable, biological renewal. The brain is not declining tonight, it is generating. Fact 48. Light sleep repairs the vocal cords, the vocal folds. The fine muscular structures that produce the voice are subject to significant mechanical stress during a day of speaking. Research by ophthalmologist and voice specialist Norman Hogikian at the University of Michigan has studied vocal fold tissue renewal, noting that the ciliated epithelial cells lining the vocal folds undergo repair and renew all during the overnight sleep period, when the folds are no longer being vibrated, and mucus clearance and tissue regeneration can proceed without interruption. Every word spoken today carried a small cellular cost. Every conversation, every meeting, every expression, the cumulative mechanical toll of voice. And tonight, in the quiet of your room, your voice is being rebuilt, the tissue renewing, the moisture restoring. Ready for tomorrow's first word. Fact 49. The brain processes and consolidates social information during sleep. Researcher Matthew Walker at UC Berkeley, in research on social cognition and sleep, found that sleep deprivation significantly impaired the ability to read facial expressions accurately, particularly the subtle micro-expressions that convey emotional nuance. Conversely, well-slept subjects show a significantly greater accuracy in social perception, reading others more correctly, responding more appropriately, and feeling more connected in social interactions. Sleep, in other words, is the preparation for being with other people, for reading them correctly, for responding well, for the fundamental human work of connection, the social ease and emotional attunement you wish for in your relationships, the capacity to be present, accurate, and kind is being prepared in the silence of tonight. Fact 50, every system you have heard about tonight, the immune, the endocrine, the neurological, the cardiovascular, the musculoskeletal, the metabolic, the microbiological, is working right now, not sequentially, simultaneously, in a vast, orchestrated, breathtaking, light-precise symphony of repair. Researcher William Dement at Stanford University, one of the founders of modern sleep medicine, described sleep as the single most integrative and restorative biological process available to the human organism, coordinating every system at once, creating conditions that no other state can replicate or replace. You are not simply resting. You are undergoing the most comprehensive healing process your body has access to, the most ancient, the most sophisticated, the most perfectly calibrated to your specific needs. Because it has been calibrated by your own biology across every night of your life. And it is happening right now, in this breath, in this quiet, in the extraordinary gift of this moment of simply being still. So far tonight, the science has been building toward one profound and simple truth. Your body knows how to heal. It has always known. It does not need permission or instruction. It needs only the one thing that makes all of it possible. The rest you are giving it right now. What the research has made undeniably clear is that the lying down, the closing of the eyes, the willingness to be still and let the day go, these are not passive surrenders. They are the most active, productive, biologically significant choices a human being can make. And in this moment, right now, your blood carries less cortisol than it did when you pressed play. Your melatonin is higher. Your growth hormone is preparing its first pulse off the night. Your glymphatic system is beginning its cleansing flow. The repair has already begun. You don't have to do anything more. You only have to stay here. Every breath you take right now is a breath into a body that is getting better. Quickly, certainly, completely. Some things that happen to us feel like they belong only to this night, this particular settling, this specific quiet, this breath. Right now, tonight is becoming a memory. The body remembers its healing. Even when the mind forgets, your brain is writing a version of this night that will belong only to you. And we continue. Fact 51, leap, was not always understood as repair. For most of human history, sleep was interpreted primarily as a state of vulnerability, a necessary but passive withdrawal from the demands of conscious life. Historian Roger Eckhurch at Virginia Tech, whose research on pre-industrial sleep patterns is documented in his book At Day's Close, found that before artificial lighting, humans in many cultures slept in two distinct phases, a first sleep of several hours, followed by a period of wakefulness, then a second sleep. This biphasic pattern, now known to align with a natural dip in human circadian alertness, was not experienced as insomnia. It was accepted as normal. People would rise, converse, pray, or think in the quiet of the middle of the night, then return to sleep. Your experience of waking in the night, the particular quiet of 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., is not a malfunction. It is an ancient pattern, the body's oldest rhythm. You are not broken when you wake in the night. You may simply be following a schedule older than the electric light. Fact 52. Ancient Greek physicians prescribed sleep as a primary therapeutic intervention. The temples of Asclepius, the Greek god of medicine, were centers of healing across the ancient world. At these sanctuaries, patients underwent a practice called incubation, sleeping on the temple ground in the belief that healing dreams would diagnose their illness and prescribe a remedy. Researcher Gil Renberg at the University of Arizona, studying ancient Greek healing practices, documented hundreds of inscriptions recording miraculous healings attributed to dream sleep at Asclepius temples. While the theological framework was different from modern science, the core insight was correct. The sleeping body and the sleeping mind possess extraordinary healing capacities that the waking state cannot access. The ancients built temples to honor this truth. The science of the last century has confirmed it. What your body is doing tonight has been recognized as remarkable for as long as humans have been paying attention. Fact 53. Across virtually all animal species, sleep is non-negotiable. Every species studied by sleep scientists, from the simplest invertebrates to the most complex mammals, shows some form of sleep or sleep-like state. Researcher Jerry Siegel at UCLA has studied sleep across species, documenting that even Drosophila fruit flies show rest activity cycles with the hallmarks of sleep: reduced responsiveness, compensatory rebound after deprivation, and regulation by many of the same genes and neurotransmitter that regulate human sleep. Sleep is not a cultural preference. It is not a luxury. It is a biological imperative conserved across 500 million years of animal evolution. That conservation, the fact that sleep has survived the pressure of natural selection in every lineage, is the deepest possible evidence of its necessity. Nothing that expensive is kept unless it is absolutely essential. Fact 54. Dolphins and certain birds sleep with half their brain at a time. This phenomenon, called unihemispheric slow-wave sleep, allows dolphins to continue swimming and surfacing for air while asleep, and allows certain migratory birds to sleep while flying. Research by Jerome Siegel at UCLA and Niels Rattenborg at the Max Planck Institute for Ornithology documented this phenomenon, finding that the sleeping hemisphere showed all the hallmarks of deep, slow-wave sleep, including delta waves, while the waking hemisphere remained alert and functional. This is not a curiosity. This is evidence that the brain is not sleeping because the organism has nothing else to do. The brain sleeps because sleep serves a function so critical that evolution has developed extraordinary mechanisms to ensure it happens, even while the organism continues to move through a demanding world. The healing is that necessary. The repair is that important. Fact 55. Sleep architecture changes throughout the night in a predictable pattern. A full night of sleep consists of approximately 4 to 6 complete sleep cycles, each lasting 90 to 110 minutes. Early cycles are dominated by slow-wave sleep, the deep, growth, hormone-rich repair phase. Later cycles contain progressively more REM sleep, the dreaming phase associated with emotional processing and memory consolidation. Research by Dirk-Jan Dijk at the Universities of Surrey established this architecture in precise detail, showing that cutting the night short disproportionately eliminates the REM-rich later cycles, with significant consequences for emotional regulation and memory consolidation. This is why sleeping 6 hours is not simply less sleep than 8 hours. It is categorically different sleep, with different proportions of repair and processing, different hormonal profiles, different neurological outcomes. Every hour of tonight matters. Each cycle is doing different work. The night, in all its length, is a complete program, and you have the whole of it ahead. Fact 56. Across cultures, lullabies have been used to initiate sleep in infants for thousands of years. Researcher Samuel Mayer at Harvard University conducted a cross-cultural study of lullabies, analyzing recordings from 30 societies across every inhabited continent, and found universal structural features: slow tempo, simple melodic contour, repetitive rhythm, and a descending pitch pattern. These features are not arbitrary. They map directly onto the acoustic correlates of parasympathetic activation, the physiological markers of the rest and repair state. The lullaby is the oldest technology for inducing the healing state of sleep. What you are listening to right now, this slow, steady voice, this unhurried pace, is the same principle. Not a lullaby for infants, a lullaby for an adult nervous system that has forgotten, in the rush of days, how to let itself be soothed. You are allowed to be soothed. This is not weakness, this is wisdom. Fact 57. The Japanese practice of napping, inamuri, reflects a cultural understanding of sleep's restorative function. Inamuri, which translates approximately as being present while sleeping, describes the Japanese cultural acceptance of napping in public settings, on trains, in meetings, at desks. Researcher Brigitte Steger at the University of Cambridge studied inamuri extensively, finding that it is not seen as laziness, but as evidence of dedication, indicating that a person has worked so hard they need to restore themselves even in public. The culture recognizes that the body's need for sleep is not an interruption to productivity. It is the foundation of it. Every culture that has lasted has found ways to honor the need for rest. The cultures that have not honored they've not lasted. What you are doing tonight is culturally ancient and biologically essential. Fact 58. Sleep has been used as a treatment for depression since the early 20th century. Narcotherapy, the use of prolonged sleep as a therapeutic intervention, was practiced widely in European psychiatric hospitals from the 1920s through the 1950s, following work by Swiss psychiatrist Jakob Klassi. While the specific methods were later superseded, the underlying observation has been confirmed by modern research that extended, high-quality sleep produces measurable improvements in depressive symptom through its effects on serotonin metabolism, HPA axis regulation, and inflammatory modulation. Researcher Colleen Carney at Ryerson University has developed cognitive behavioral therapy specifically for insomnia, CBTI, which has been shown in multiple clinical trials to improve both sleep and depressive symptoms simultaneously, with effects that outlast the therapy itself. Sleep and emotional health are not separate domains. They are the same domain. If you are carrying something heavy tonight, something in the range of sadness or depletion, the sleep you are moving toward is not an escape from that heaviness. It is treatment for it. Fact 59. The body's circadian clock influences the effectiveness of medical treatments. Research in the field of chronotherapy, the timing of medical interventions, though, align with circadian biology, has shown that the same medication given at different times of day can have dramatically different efficacy and side effects. Researcher Francis Levi at the University of Paris, SUD, found that chemotherapy agents were significantly more effective and less toxic when administered at specific circadian phases aligned with peak cellular vulnerability, reliance in tumor tissue, and peak cellular resilience in healthy tissue. The body is not a static chemistry set. It is a dynamic, time-sensitive biological system with different capacities, different vulnerabilities, and different therapeutic windows at different phases of its 24-hour cycle. And the most powerful, most comprehensive therapeutic window of alipins every night when you close your eyes. Fact 60. Sleep deprivation was used as a form of torture precisely because sleep is so essential. Researcher James Horn at Loughborough University, whose extensive work on sleep deprivation effect spans 4 decades, documented the progressive neurological and physiological deterioration that occurs with extended sleep deprivation, hallucinations beginning after 72 hours, immune collapse, cognitive disintegration. The fact that sleep deprivation was used historically as an instrument of harm is the darkest possible confirmation of sleep's absolute biological necessity. To deprive a person of sleep is to deprive them of repair, to deprive them of healing, to deny the body the one state in which it can restore itself completely. What you are giving yourself tonight is the opposite of deprivation. It is the fullest possible form of biological care. Fact 61. Light therapy has been clinically validated to restore disrupted circadian sleep cycles. Researcher Anna Wirtz-Justistast, the psychiatric hospital of the University of Baselhas, spent decades establishing the clinical efficacy of bright light therapy. Exposure to 0 lux of full-spectrum light in the morning. For circadian rhythm disorders, seasonal affective disorder, and non-seasonal depression, the mechanism is direct. Morning bright light resets the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the brain's master clock, advancing or delaying the circadian phase and restoring the natural alignment of sleep, hormone release, and waking function. A correctly timed light environment in the morning makes the night's sleep more restorative. The morning light is the instruction. The night's sleep is the response. The two are not separate. They are a single biological conversation. Light and dark, waking and sleeping, a dialogue your body has been having with the world every day of your life. And tonight, in this dark, your body is completing one side of that conversation. Fact 62. Cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. CBTI is more effective than sleep medication in the long term. Research published in the Annals of Internal Medicine. In a meta-analysis led by researcher Dieter Riemann at the University of Freiburg, found that CBTI produced greater long-term improvement in sleep onset latency and sleep efficiency than pharmacological intervention, with benefits persisting for years after treatment ended. The core insight of CBTI is that insomnia is maintained not just by physiological factors, but by beliefs and behaviors about sleep. The anxiety about not sleeping, the hypervigilance that turns the bedinto a place of alertness rather than rest. You are not failing to sleep right now. You are resting. You are listening. You are allowing the body's natural sleep drive, the adenosine that has been building all day, to do its quiet, certain work. This is the right approach, not trying, not forcing, simply staying here, in the dark, in the quiet, and letting sleep find you. Fact 63. Napping for 20 minutes produces measurable cognitive restoration. Research by Sarah Mednick at UC San Diego, whose work on napping and cognitive performances among the most comprehensive in sleep science, found that a 20-minute nap restored alertness, reaction time, and working memory to near-rested levels in sleep-deprived subjects. Naps longer than 30 minutes risk entering slow-wave sleep, producing sleep inertia, the grogginess associated with waking from deep sleep. But the 20-minute window hits the sweet spot. Enough stage 2 sleep to restore cognitive function, short enough to avoid slow-wave entry. The body does not require a full nighto begin its restoration. Even 20 minutes of genuine rest initiates repair processes, clears adenosine from key brain regions, and restores the neurochemical balance that makes clear thinking possible. But a full night like the one you are in right now, a full night is another category entirely. Fact 64. Stage 2 sleep, the sleep you enter most frequently throughout the night, produces characteristic brain waves called sleep spindles and K-complexes. Sleep spindles are brief, 12 to 15 Hz bursts of neural activity lasting 1 to 2 seconds. Research by Matthew Walker at UC Berkeley found that the density of sleep spindles, how many occur per hour of stage 2 sleep, correlates directly with the next day ability to learn new motor and cognitive skills. K-complexes, large, single electrical waves, are believed to serve as the brain's mechanism for suppressing arousal responses to external sounds, maintaining sleep in a noisy environment. Both structures represent the brain doing active, specific work, not resting passively, but orchestrating the precise neurological conditions for memory consolidation and learning every minute of stage 2 sleep tinnitus, building your capacity for tomorrow. The spindles are spinning right now, quietly, below the threshold of awareness, weaving the night's learning into the permanent fabric of who you are. Fact 65. The circadian rhythm influences the production of at least 15% of all protein-coding genes in the human genome. Research by John Hoganish at the University of Pennsylvania analyzed gene expression patterns across multiple human tissues and found that approximately 15% of the entire human genome is regulated by the circadian clock, meaning that those genes are expressed more at some times of day than others. Following a 24-hour rhythm, this includes genes involved in DNA repair, immune function, metabolism, cell division, cardiovascular regulation, and neurological function. Your genome is not a static instruction manual. It is a dynamic, time-responsive system, turning different sections on and off in response to the hour of the day. Right now, at this hour of the night, the sections of your genome dedicated to repair, restoration, and maintenance are more active than at any other time. The instructions for healing are being read right now, at this moment, in the cells of your body. Fact 66. Athletes who extend their sleep to 9 hours show dramatic improvements in performance. Researcher Cherry Ma at the Stanford Sleep Disorders Clinic and Research Laboratory conducted studies with Stanford University athletes, including basketball players, swimmers, and tennis players, finding that extending sleep to 9 hours per night over several weeks produced improvements of 9% in sprint times, a 41% increase in free throw shooting accuracy, and significantly improved reaction time SANES and mood ratings. These were not marginal gains. They were the kind of performance improvements that athletes spend years of disciplined training trying to achieve, delivered by sleep alone. The body's capacity for physical performance is not limited by training alone. It is limited fundamentally by how fully the training is absorbed and integrated during sleep. Sleep is not the recovery from training. Sleep is where training happens. Fact 67. The immune system produces natural killer cells, NK cells, whose activity peaks during sleep. Natural killer cells are the immune system's first line of defense against virally infected cells and early-stage cancer cells. They patrol the body, identifying and destroying abnormal cells before they can replicate. Research by Michael Irwin at UALA found that a single night of partial sleep loss, restricting sleep to 4 hours for one night, reduced natural killer cell activity by 70% the following day. 70% from a single restricted night. The body's surveillance against cellular abnormality, its most fundamental oncological defense, is directly and dramatically dependent on sleep. Every full night of sleep is, in part, a cancer prevention strategy, not a sufficient one alone, but a necessary one that no other intervention can fully replace. Fact 68. Sleep stabilizes blood glucose levels overnight. The pancreas, responsible for producing insulin and regulating blood sugar, follows a circadian rhythm in its insulin secretion patterns. Research by Orfeo Buxton at Harvard Medical School found that circadian misalignment, sleeping at the wrong time, or sleeping too little, produced insulin resistance and elevated fasting glucose levels equivalent to the early stages of pre-diabetes. During adequate, well-timed sleep, the pancreas reduces insulin secretion while peripheral tissue, insulin sensitivity increases, producing the stable, low insulin, low glucose state that is associated with metabolic health and longevity. Your blood sugar is stabilizing right now. The metabolic steadiness that protects the brain, the blood vessels, and every organ from the damage of glycemic fluctuation, it is being calibrated in this sleep. Fact 69. Sleep loss increases the production of the inflammatory protein interleukin-6. Interleukin-6 is one of the primary mediators of systemic inflammation, the kind of diffuse, chronic, low-grade inflammation now recognized as a central pathway in the development of depression, cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, and autoimmune conditions. Researcher Esther Irwin at UCLA found that restricting sleep to 6 hours for a single week produced a measurable elevation in interleukin-6 that persisted beyond the period of restriction, suggesting that the inflammatory effects of poor sleep are not immediately reversible. This is why chronic poor sleep and chronic inflammation so often co-occur, not just correlated, but causally linked in both directions. Poor sleep increases inflammation. Increased inflammation disrupts sleep, a cycle that begins with the night and breaks, or begins to break, with exactly this kind of night, a full, quiet, complete night of rest. Every such night shifts the balance back toward the side of health. Fact 70. The pineal gland, responsible for melatonin production, is smaller in people with chronic insomnia. Research by Sethi Kuripu Pandi Perumalat, the Somnogan Research Institute documented structural differences in the pineal gland in individuals with chronic insomnia, with reduced gland volume correlating with reduced melatonin output and greater difficulty initiating and maintaining sleep. This finding reframes insomnia not simply as a behavioral or psychological problem, but as a condition with neurobiological underpinnings, a difference in the biological hardware of the circadian system. This is not a flaw. This is not a failure. This is a body doing its best with the particular biological architecture it has. And the strategies that help, darkness, quiet, cool temperature, the slow deepening of the breath, work precisely because they support whatever melatonin the pineal gland can produce, amplifying its signal, reducing the noise that competes with its message. What you are doing right now is working with your biology, not against it. Fact 71. Sleep promotes the clearance of tau protein, another molecule implicated in Alzheimer's disease. In addition to beta amyloid, the glymphatic system discovered by Maken Nedergaard at the University of Rochester clears tau protein, which, when it accumulates abnormally, forms the neurofibrillary tangles found in the brains of Alzheimer's patients. Research published in Science by Nedergaard's team established that slow-wave sleep produced the histostrates of glymphatic flow and tau clearance, with sleep deprivation causing measurable increases in tau levels within a single night. Two proteins, both implicated in neurodegeneration, both cleared primarily during sleep, both accumulating measurably during sleep deprivation. This is not a distant risk. This is the nightly tending of the brain, the difference between a mind that ages well and one that accumulates the debris of neglect. Every night of sleep is maintenance of the mind you will inhabit for the rest of your life. Fact 72. Physical pain is processed differently during sleep. Research by Matthew Walker at UC Berkeley found that the emotional component of pain, the suffering, as distinct from the sensation, is significantly modulated by sleep. The anterior cingulate cortex, which is involved in the emotional experience of pain, shows reduced activation during sleep in response to identical painful stimuli. This means that the suffering dimension of pain, the part that makes pain feel unbearable, is measurably reduced by sleep, not because the pain signal is absent, but because the brain's emotional amplification of that signal is turned down during rest. People with chronic pain sleep less. People who sleep less have more chronic pain. The relationship is bidirectional and well established, but the direction available to you tonight, the direction of rest, the direction of a brain that processes pain with less emotional amplification, begins with this: the dark, the quiet, the body settling. Fact 73. Sleep enhances the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. BDNF is a protein that supports the growth, maintenance, and survival of neurons and promotes the formation of new synaptic connections. It is sometimes described as fertilizer for the brain. Research by researchers at the National Institute of Mental Health established that BDNF levels are significantly influenced by sleep quality, with both sleep deprivation and fragmented, sleep-reducing BDNF expression in key brain regions, including the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex. BDNF is also one of the primary mediators of antidepressant effects. Most antidepressant medications increase BDNF as part of their mechanism of action. Sleep increases BDNF through natural means, through the uninterrupted, full, complete biological rest that the body was designed for. The brain is fertilizing itself tonight, growing new connections, nurturing the neural tissue that makes learning, memory, and mood possible. Fact 74. Your body's pH balance is regulated during sleep, the acid-base balance of the blood, maintained within the narrow range of 7.35 to 7.45 pH, is influenced by the breathing patterns and metabolic activity of sleep. Research in respiratory physiology has established that the slowed breathing of deep sleep produces mild respiratory change that support acid-base regulation in allowing the kidneys and lungs to maintain the precise biochemical balance that every cellular process depends on. Even at this level, the level of molecular chemistry, of hydrogen ions in the blood, sleep is maintaining the conditions of life. The extraordinary precision of a body in sleep is not drama. It is simply the fact of what you are, a biological system of almost incomprehensible complexity, performing right now, without your direction, without your knowledge, without your effort, the 10,000 simultaneous calibrations that allow you to be alive and well tomorrow. Fact 75. Right now, in this moment, your body is doing something it has never done before. It is repairing this exact version of you, the you who lived through this specific day, who held these specific thoughts, who carried these specific tensions and these specific small joys. No other body has ever been repaired in quite the same way. No other sleep has ever contained quite this same combination of what needs to be processed, what needs to be strengthened, what needs to be gently let go. Researcher Matthew Walker at UC Berkeley has written that sleep is the greatest gift evolution has ever given the human brain, not a pause from life, not a necessary inconvenience, a gift, one being given to you right now, in every cell, in every breath, in every slow, quiet beat of a heart that knows, without being told, exactly what to do next. You are still here, still somewhere between thinking and resting, and that is exactly right. Take one slow breath. Notice that your body is heavier now than it was when you began. Notice that your thoughts are slower. Notice that the distance between you and the world outside this room has grown gently, naturally, wider. Your brain is producing more slow activity now. The theta rhythms are deepening. The door to sleep is open. We'll keep going together, gently. Fact 76 Satleep connects you to every human being who has ever lived. Every person across every century of human history, from the earliest Homo sapiens sheltering in the dark of the African savanna, to every dreamer who has ever watched a ceiling fade into dark, has crossed this same threshold, the same adenosine building through the day, the same melatonin rising at nightfall, the same hypothalamic temperature drop, the same slow delta waves moving through the cortex, the same dreams arriving in the chemistry of REM. Philosopher Matthew Ratcliffe at the University of York has written about the shared phenomenology of sleep, the way the experience of crossing into restiais, one of the most universally human experience, exists. You are not alone in this moment. You are doing what every human who has ever lived has done, in the dark at the end of the day, letting go. Fact 77. The experience of rest has been considered sacred across virtually every major human culture. The Sabbath in Jewish and Christian tradition, the seventh day of rest, enshrines the biological necessity of recovery in the architecture of the sacred week. The Buddhist concept of equanimity, upekkha, describes the quality of mind that neither grasps nor resists, that rests in what is. It is both a spiritual practice and a description of the neurological state of deep, restful sleep. Researcher Robert Stickgold at Harvard has reflected that the modern scientific understanding of sleep's function aligns in a surprising way with what contemplative traditions have always said, that the quieting of the effortful mind is not a loss of something. It is the recovery of something more fundamental. What you are returning to tonight is older than any tradition. It is what you are before you are anything else. A body that knows how to rest. Fact 78. The experience of waking refreshes, not simply the absence of tiredness. It is the presence of something restored. Researcher Hans-Peter Landolt at the University of Zurich has studied the neurochemistry of the transition from sleep to waking, documenting the precise changes in adenosine, serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine that accompany the transition from sleep to alert wakefulness. What he found is that well-slept subjects do not simply have lower adenosine, they have higher dopamine baseline activity, greater serotonergic tone, and more available prefrontal cortex capacity than sleep-deprived subjects. Waking refreshed is not neutral. It is a positively resourced state, a brain running on full neurotransmitter capacity, fully online, fully present, ready to meet the world with everything it has. That state is being prepared for you right now, not by effort, by biology, by the extraordinary, unhurried work of a body that knows exactly how to care for you. Fact 79. The feeling of being unable to sleep is itself a form of alertness, not a failure. Researcher Charles Morin at Laval University in Quebec, one of the leading researchers in insomnia treatment globally, has established that the arousal that prevents sleep, the racing thoughts, the physical tension, the hyper-awareness of the body lying awake, is the fight or flight system misapplying itself to the act of sleeping. The brain has learned, in some cases, to treat the bed as a place of vigilance, to associate the bedroom with wakefulness because of repeated nights of trying and failing. But the solution is not more effort. It is less sleep. Does not come when you try to sleep. It comes when you stop trying. This is exactly that moment. The trying is done. The effort is over. There is nothing left to do except be here, breathing warm, still. And in that stillness, in the genuine release of the effort to sleep, the biology does what it was always going to do. Fact 80. What you dream tonight will be shaped by what you experience today. Researcher Robert Stickgold at Harvard and Tore Nielsen at the Université de Montréal studied the relationship between waking experience and dream content, finding that emotionally significant experiences from the day appear in dreams with much higher frequency than neutral events. This is not random. The brain selects what matters, what was unresolved, what was emotionally charged, what requires integration, and brings it into the dream environment where it can be processed without the inhibiting presence of the waking, rational, self-monitoring mind. Whatever you carry from today that still feels unfinished, the conversations not quite resolved, the feelings not quite named, the dreaming brain knows what to do with them. You don't need to figure anything out tonight. You only need to let the dreaming mind do what it was built to do. Fact 81. SLE heals the social brain. The default mode network, the neural system active during social cognition, empathy, and self-reflection, undergoes significant consolidation during sleep. Research by Uri Hassan at Princeton University studying the neural basis of shared understanding found that well-slept subjects showed greater neural coupling with conversation partners, meaning their brains synchronized more effectively during communication, producing deeper mutual understanding. Sleep-deprived subjects showed reduced neural coupling, more difficulty connecting, less empathic resonance, more social misattunement, the capacity to truly hear another person, to feel what they feel, to understand not just the words but the meaning, is a function of a rested brain. The quality of your most important relationships is, in part, a function of how you sleep. And tonight, the social brain is being restored, calibrated for connection, tuned for the particular human gift of genuine presence with another person. Fact 82. The body makes its most significant repair stow, the cardiovascular system, in the hours between midnight and 4 a.m. Research by Michael Smolensky at the University of Texas Health Science Center documented the circadian patterns of cardiovascular events, finding that heart attacks and strokes peak in the early morning hours, around 6 to 8 a.m., coinciding with the sympathetic surge of the morning cortisol awakening response. This means the deep, quiet hours of the early night, midnight to 4 a.m., are the window of maximum cardiovascular repair. Lowest heart rate, lowest blood pressure, lowest arterial inflammation, highest parasympathetic dominance. Those are the hours when the heart recovers most completely, the hours when the arteries rest from their daytime pressure, the hours when the endothelium, the lining of blood vessels, repairs the micro-damage of a day of flow. Those hours are ahead of you right now. The deepest window of cardiovascular healing, available to you simply by being here, in the dark, in the quiet, allowing the night to do what it was built to do. Fact 83. Poet William Blake wrote that sleep is the twin of death and its gentle companion, this is not morbid. It is a recognition of something true that the science now confirms. The transition into sleep involves a genuine dissolution of the ordinary self, the self that monitors, evaluates, worries, and maintains its boundaries against the world. In sleep, that self releases, the body continues, the heart beats, the breath moves, the repairs proceed. But the watching, managing, effortful egoists temporarily and completely set aside, this is not loss. This is the most profound form of trust. The trust the body has in its own competence, demonstrated every night by the willing nesto, let the managing self go and allow the body's deeper intelligencedo take over completely. You are practicing that trust right now. With every breath that slows, with every thought that loosens its grip, with every moment of simply being here without needing to do anything about it. Fact 84. The brain reorganizes its chemical gradients during sleep. During wakefulness, neural activity creates concentration gradients of ions, sodium, potassium, calcium, across cell membranes. Maintaining the precise electrochemical balance required for neural firing is one of the most energetically expensive processes in the brain. Research by Władysław Jazowski at the University of Oxford established that slow-wave sleep allows the restoration of these ion gradients across the entire cortex simultaneously, efficiently in the low-noise electrical environment created by synchronized low oscillations. The restoration of these gradients is the restoration of the brain's capacity to generate the precise, differentiated electrical signals that underlie thought, perception, and consciousness. The clarity of tomorrow's first thought is being prepared in the electrochemistry of tonight, the ions moving back into position, the cell membranes re-establishing their charge quickly, precisely, without your involvement, without your effort. Fact 85. You have survived every difficult night you have ever had. This is not a small thing. Every night that felt too long, every hour spent awake in the dark with thoughts that felt too heavy, you came through. The morning came, the body did what it needed to do. Researcher Allison Harvey at UC Berkeley, whose work on cognitive models of insomnia has shaped modern treatment approaches, has emphasized that one of the most important things a person can understand about sleep is that the body's drive towards sleep is almost always stronger than the obstacle that seems to be preventing it. The adenosine is there, the melatonin is there, the circadian pressure is there. Every biological system is aligned in the direction of rest. The body is not fighting you tonight. It is with you. It has always been with you. Fact 86. Right now, your breathing is slowing in a way that is beyond your conscious control. The respiratory rate during stage 1 and 2 sleep decreases from the waking rate of 12 to 20 breaths per minute toward 10 to 14 breaths per minute, a measurable, involuntary quieting of the body's most fundamental rhythm. This slowing is orchestrated by the brain stem, the most ancient part of the brain, the part that has been regulating breathing since before consciousness existed. You don't have to make your breath slow down. The brainstem is already doing it. The process is already underway. The part of your brain that predates thought, that predates language, that predates selfhood is already carrying you towards sleep. Let it. It knows the way. It has always known the way. Fact 87. The experience of hypnagogia, the transitional state between waking and sleeping, is a state of extraordinary neural activity. Researcher Andreas Mavromatis, in his foundational text Hypnagogia, described the hypnagogic stadias, one in which the boundaries between conscious and unconscious processing dissolve, producing vivid imagery, unexpected thoughts, creative insights, and the characteristic sensation of falling that often accompanies sleep onset. Many artists, scientists, and thinkers throughout history have deliberately cultivated this state, including Thomas Edison, who reportedly napped holding steel balls so that when he drifted off and they clattered to the floor, he could capture the ideas arising in the hypnagogic zone. Salvador Dali used the same technique with a key in his hand. The edge of sleep is one of the most creatively rich and perceptually extraordinary states available to the human mind. You may be in it right now, the thoughts coming softer, the images more fluid, the boundary between imagining and perceiving beginning to dissolve. This is not confusion. This is the beginning of everything the night has to offer. Fact 88. Your body knows it is safe right now. The physiological markers of safety, the slow heart rate, the low cortisol, the parasympathetic dominance, the reduced amygdala activity, are all present in the sleeping body. Researcher Stephen Porges at the University of North Carolina, whose polyvagal theory maps the neurological architecture of safety, has described how the ventral vagal system, the neural pathway associated with genuine social safety and calm, reaches its maximum activity during deep rest. The body does not rest unless it feels safe. The resting body is, by definition, a body that has found its safety. Your nervous system right now has made its assessment. The verdict is in. It is safe here. It is safe to let go. It is safe to allow the Naito do its ancient, generous work. Fact 89. Sleep is the body's reset button for the stress response. The hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the HPA axis, is the biological system that generates and regulates the stress response. When activated, it produces cortisol and coordinates the physiological state of alertness and reaction. Research by Marianne Joels at the University of Amsterdam established that adequate sleep down regulates HPA axis reactivity, reducing the baseline sensitivity of the stress system so that the same challenge in that felt overwhelming on a sleep-deprived day feels manageable on a well-rested one. This is not a change in the challenge. This is a change in the capacity for equanimity, for meeting difficulty without being destroyed by it, is a biological condition, not just a character trait. And it is being restored right now in the quiet chemistry of this sleep. Fact 90. Your cells are preparing for tomorrow across every organ, every tissue, every cell type in your body. Gene expression is shifting toward the proteins needed for tomorrow's functioning. Research by John Hoganish at the University of Pennsylvania established that the circadian clock operates in every cell of the body, a distributed system of biological timekeeping that anticipates the coming day and begins preparing for it hours in advance. The digestive enzymes for tomorrow's breakfast air already being produced. The immune cells needed for tomorrow's surveillance are already being deployed. The neurotransmitters needed for tomorrow's clarity are already being synthesized. Your body is not only repairing last night, it is preparing for tomorrow. The past and future are both alive in the chemistry of the sleeping present. Fact 91: deep sleep is where the body performs its most complete act of self-renewal. During slow-wave sleep, stage 3 non-REM, the brain produces delta waves at their maximum amplitude and synchronization. Growth hormone is at its peak. Cortisol is at its lowest. Melatonin is high. The glymphatic system is fully active. Immune cytokines are at their highest concentration. Every repair system is running at its maximum biological capacity. This is the deepest room in the house of sleep, the room where the most important work is done. Researcher Matthew Walker at UC Berkeley has described slow-wave sleep as the single most restorative state available to the human organism, the phase from which the body emerges most transformed, most replenished, most genuinely different from the body that entered it. You may be moving toward that room now, or you may already be there. And if you are, you won't know, because the self that knows is the self that gets set aside when the deepest work begins. Fact 92. Your nervous system is releasing its vigilance with every passing minute. The brainstem's arousal centers, the locus ceruleus, the raphe nuclei, the tuberomammillary nucleus, are reducing their output one by one as the sleeping brain shifts from wakefulness to rest. Research by Clifford Saper at Harvard Medical School, who mapped the brain's sleep-wake switch, describes this as a bistable system, a neural flip-flop that can be in one of two states, and that, once the conditions for sleep are met, switches decisively and maintains that state. The conditions have been met. The switch is moving. The arousal centers are dimming one by one, not forced, not artificially induced, simply responding to the dark, the quiet, the warmth, the breath, the accumulated weight of a day that is now, finally, fully over. Fact 93. The body in deep sleep has no awareness of the world outside itself. Research on arousal thresholds during slow-wave sleep has shown that sounds loud enough to wake a sleeper during light sleep pass entirely unregistered during deep sleep, the brain having effectively decoupled from its sensory monitoring systems. This is not vulnerability. This is the profundity of the healing state, a state so deep and so purposeful that the brain has judged it suffato turn off its environmental monitoring and devote all available resource to the work of repair. The body trusts the dark. The body trusts the night. The body knows with a certainty that predates conscious thought that the deepest healing requires the complete absence of watching. You can stop watching now. The night is keeping watch for you. Fact 94. In the silence of the sleeping brain, the most important things are being kept. The memories that matter, the skills that were practiced, the connections that were formed, the emotions that need to be integrated, the cellular damage that needs to be repaired, the proteins that need to be synthesized, the waste that needs to be cleared. All of it is being tended. All of it is being kept. Research by Robert Stickgold at Harvard describes the sleeping brain as not passive, but as selectively active, choosing, from the entire day's experience, what to consolidate, what to strengthen, what to let fade. The brain is choosing for you right now. You don't have to decide what to keep. You don't have to hold on to anything. The biology knows what matters. It is keeping it. Fact 95. Right now, as you are drifting, your brain is doing something it has done every night of your entire life. Something so reliable, so consistent, so perfectly calibrated to your specific biology that it requires no instruction, no effort, no understanding. It is preparing to dream. The REM-generating circuits in the brainstem, the subceruleus nucleus, the pedunculopontine tegmentum are preparing to fire. The acetylcholine is rising. The norepinephrine is falling. The stage is being set for the most extraordinary neurological phenomenon in the human repertoire. The brain generating an entire world from the inside, a world as vivid and complex as the one you move through today, built entirely from memory, emotion, and biology. What you dream tonight belongs to you alone. No one else can enter it. No one else can see it. It is the most private theater that exists, and it is about to begin. Fact 96. Your heart is slowing to its nighttime pace. The resting heart rate during deep sleep can fall 10 to 30 beats per minute below the waking resting rate. For a person with a resting waking heart rate of 70 beats per minute, deep sleep may produce a rate of 50 to 60 beats. That is the rate of a heart in recovery, a heart receiving the rest it was built to need. Every beat at this quieter passes, a beat that carries less mechanical stress to the arterial walls, less pressure, less wear, more recovery, more repair. The heart that will wake with you tomorrow was a heart that has been cared for tonight. Beat by patient, quiet beat. Fact 97. The temperature of your hands and feeties rising gently as your core cools. The redistribution of blood flow to the periphery. The mechanism by which the body radiates, heto, achieve its nighttime temperature drop, produces the warm hands and feet that are among the most reliable sing-soft, imminent sleep onset. Research by Kurt Crayucci at the University of Basel found that the rate of heat loss from the hands and feet was the single best physiological predictor of how quickly a person would fall asleep. Warm hands, warm feet, the warmth of a body letting its core cool, the warmth of a system in the process of handing itself over to the night. Your hands are warm right now. Your feet are warm. The core of you is cooling. This is the biology of arrival. Fact 98. Your breath is your oldest anchor, before thought, before language, before any understanding of what you are. The breath was there, moving in, moving out, the first and last physical act of a human life. Research by neuroscientist Carl Deiseroth at Stanford University has studied the neural circuits linking respiration to emotional state, finding that the rhythm of breathing directly modulates the activity of the locus ceruleus, the amygdala, and the prefrontal cortex. Slow breathing activates calm, not as a metaphor, as a neurological fact. Right now, your breath is moving slowly, more slowly than it was an hour ago. And with each slow cycle, each soft inhalation, each releasing exhalation, the neural architecture of calmness being deepened, you are breathing your way into sleep, and sleep is breathing you toward morning. Fact 99. Tonight, your body will reach deep sleep, not trying, not forcing. simply following the biological cascade that has been in motion since the last light faded. The melatonin, the adenosine, the temperature drop, the dimming of the arousal centers, the quieting of the amygdala, the rising tide of delta waves. It will happen the way all the most important things happen. Not through effort, but through surrender. Not through doing, but through allowing. The deepest sleep is not something you achieve. It is something you receive. And it is coming for you right now, as certain as the tide, as reliable as the dawn that follows it. Fact 100. Your body has been healing you every night of your entire life, every illness you recovered from, every injury that mended, every difficult day that became bearable by morning, every fog that lifted after rest, every heaviness that was lighter after sleep. None of that was accident. None of it was luck. It was the extraordinary, ancient, precisely calibrated intelligence of a body that knows, with a certainty deeper than thought, how to tend to itself in the dark. Researcher Matthew Walker at UC Berkeley has said that if sleep were a pharmaceutical drug, it would be the most widely prescribed medication in the history of medicine. Nothing else does what sleep does. Nothing else comes close. And it is yours, tonight, right now, free, natural, waiting, already quietly underway. You don't have to do anything more. You have already done everything right. You showed up in the dark. You let the science speak to you. You let your body settle. You gave yourself permission to rest. That is everything. That is more than enough. You might be feeling deeply tired now. That is perfectly fine. Sleep doesn't come when you try to sleep. It comes when you stop trying. This is exactly that moment. Let your body be heavy now, completely heavy. Let every muscle that has been holding anything at all release it. You are done holding for tonight. The night will hold you now. And so, our quiet journey through the science of how your body heals itself while you sleep comes gently to a close. Tonight, we moved from the first discovery that sleep is not rest but repair. Through the immune systems and the growing hormones, through the dreaming brain and the healing gut, through the ancient history of sleep across cultures, all the way to this final, simple truth. Your body has always known how to do this. It has never needed your supervision. It has never needed your permission to be extraordinary. It only needed you to stop long enoto, let it work. By pausing to give yourself this particular kind of quiet, the quiet of a body allowed to heal, we glimpse something universal about being human, that we are not machines that break down and require external fixing. We are living systems with the capacity to restore ourselves completely. Every single night, if only we give ourselves the chance. In these final minutes, take the deepest breath you can. As deep as possible, feel the oxygen moving through you, into the lungs, into the blood, carried to the cells that are waiting for it. Cells that will use it tonight to do every repair that needs doing. This breath is medicine. You are delivering it to yourself right now. Hold it for a moment, and then let everything go. Let your entire being dissolve into the warm, unheld quiet of a body that is being taken care of, cell by cell, breath by breath, in the deep and patient dark. Prepare for deep sleep. No tension left, no watching left. Only the body's own intelligence, only peace. If tonight has given you something, If this science has made the dark feel safer, the rest feel more deserved. Please share this video with someone else who might need to hear it. Your small act could be the reason another tired mind finds its rest tonight. Whatever you have been carrying today, the thoughts that kept returning, the worries that wouldn't settle, you don't need to carry them into sleep. They will be there in the morning. Tonight, you belong only to yourself. You have traveled inward tonight, through the corridors of your own biology, corridors most people move through daily without ever pausing to notice their extraordinary work. You touched the architecture of healing and found it more capable, more patient, and more devoted to your well-being than you may have ever allowed yourself to believe. You can allow these thoughts of healing to fade now, like the last activity of a cell completing its work. Present, then quieter, then simply part of everything, leaving only the warm, unheld calm behind. Let your breathing deepen. Let your body feel heavier, as if every repair has begun, every system has settled. Every cell has received its instructions and has simply, gratefully begun. If sleep comes, let it carry you the way the body's own biology carries you, not forced, not rushed, but arriving the moment you stopped asking it to hurry, into the deep, restoring dark where time and weight no longer matter. If your eyes are still open, the next video is waiting, ready to continue the journey. But if they are closed, stay there. Stay in the darkness that feels safe and warm. Tomorrow, you will wake different from tonight, not dramatically. Quietly, a little more repaired, a little more whole, a little more ready for whatever the morning brings. But tonight belongs to stillness. Rest well, sleepy soul. And remember, your body has been healing you all along. Good night.